All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. I screwed everything up because I was talking behind the scenes there. So we are live. Thank you for joining us live. We've got a full house today. We're going to do some board topics. But first, let's do some news. Daniel, Mark, you guys have some news, don't you?
Yeah, we were invited by a Swedish podcast to do an episode. They're doing sort of a summer holiday episodes where different hosts get to do a show, and we were invited. So we did an episode on guitar riffs, Kiss guitar riffs, and it will be. I think they will. Well, there's actually just a few hours until they release it, so I think it will be released in like 3, 4, 5 hours, something like that.
The 18th of August.
Yeah, but it's it's all screwed up with different time zones and everything. So it's I think it's like in 4 or 5 hours. So it's in the morning over here, and it's the podcast called Let Me Know, which we have collaborated with a bit. They've been on our show, and now we were invited to their show. So it's kind of cool.
Real nice. Look forward to checking that out and seeing you guys with your guitars doing some riffs. It should be fun. So you'll post in the comments later where folks can find that show so that they can. Is it video as well as audio?
No, I don't think they use video actually. They focus more on audio. He's an audiophile, the guy running it, so he's really particular with the sound, but he really don't care for visuals. A bit like you, Julian. Not a visual guy, more into audio.
Visual.
Yes. Audio far superior. All right. So I was on Rewind with Tim Derling this week just to talk about the book. You guys did your episode on the book. Daniel, the answer to your question, why is the back cover of this book so shit?
I didn't say it was shit.
Because this is so awesome. The front, I had nothing I could compete with on the back. I'm like out of steam at the end. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put the hype blurb on the back and be done with it. That is why. So I ran out of steam. I did have a photo that I wanted to license as well, but I then decided I didn't want to have anything distract from the cover because the cover was just so spectacular that I felt just put the hype text on and no photograph of author. That's pretentious as fuck. So
not a big headshot on the back. Come on, that'd be great.
No. Tim out there, thank you. Nice comments. Very much appreciated. Yeah, I enjoyed your guys' comments on the show last week. And Mark, thank you for showing. I do have one because I'm throwing in a few of these in with the orders that I'm doing. I finally got my book order of paperback. So I've got signed copies up on my website, which you can find on the FAQ. But you held up this during your review, and this is the Genesis. This is 2017, before some other guys started selling books. So, there was a question of whether I had done this to put anyone else to shame, and it most certainly not. I'd been doing these single volumes. This was just a good opportunity to expand and use all that visual material that I'd accumulated over the years. And see if I could challenge myself to do a color publication. And, the response has been generally good. So I do want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for your support. I thank everyone out there for their support because it really is critically important. When fans do projects, we only do them if there's an audience for them. And that comes down to you guys.
Yeah, we're already looking forward to the next one, Julian.
No comment. I'm never doing this again. Remember?
You always say that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It'll be out there, you fans out there. There will be a new book coming in a few years, I guess.
Yeah, well, we shall see. Alan and Per are up next, and they're doing their pre-orders on the next Demons of Rock. publication, which will be in 2 volumes. They were on Mike Bruin's show today. So check that out if you want all the inside information about that project and where to order that. So Lonnie, welcome. Ken,
Thank you.
welcome.
Good to be back.
Anyone had any purchases this week, or anyone else got any news? What's going on in everyone's lives? Ken, what you bought?
What did I buy?
You buy
I bought a Van Halen.
Anyone get their picture book?
That's about it.
The Rufus black and white photo.
I saw that
in people's mailboxes. Hopefully not folded, like my copy book. All right, let's. Mark.
I was just going to say I know you'll be pleased, Julian, to hear that I've been buying the Aerosmith reissues on D of late. Big Aerosmith guy, the Aerosmith records.
Yeah, they got Toys in the Atacron.
Oh yeah,
reissues. Yeah, they put Capitol Records as the label.
Yeah,
So
all of them show Capitol Records.
Yeah, I refuse to buy it because of that. And why would I? I've got the original CDs. I don't need them. I got the 20-bit masters, and there's no bonus tracks. But let's talk Kiss. All right. Good day to Paul in Australia. Wolf of Nature, welcome back. Nick, what's a Kiss book topic that you guys think should come out? Let's go to the audience today for our first topic, because then it's not about me or Alan and Per. What's a topic that you'd really like to read a book about? Lonnie. Revenge.
Well, obviously, but I think a book detailing the reunion tour would be very cool, and the details leading up to the reunion tour and the fall apart afterwards. Those 5 years, like 95 or 2000, I guess that's 6 years of what went into leading up to what became the number one band in the world again, and then how history repeated itself and it fell apart. I think what would be that's something that's not really explored that often. We always talk about the beginnings of Kiss and things like that, but I think that time frame would be very, very interesting if it was done correctly.
I like that. Mark, what about you?
Well, you know me. I'm a big gear guy, and I'm a big studio guy. So I know this is probably difficult for Kiss to do because, I don't know how many pictures they actually took when they did this stuff, but I'd love to have a book on the gear used throughout the years on various records, and what they used for what did Paul use to record for Dress to Kill, or what did Paul use as an amp for Rock and Roll Over, or stuff like that, or more detail about the actual sessions themselves, any tips and tricks and stuff like that. A lot of artists are starting to do this. There's a great Beatles book on the recording techniques of the Beatles. There's one Frank Zappa did on all his gear and stuff like that. So those are books out there. Whether Kiss could do it or not, I'd love it though if they did. I'd be the first in line to buy that.
Yep. Great ideas, and getting some good ones from the audience as well. Ken, what about you? You've read a lot of books over the years, and you've been here since the 70s, so you've seen every book pretty much come and go.
I read The Cat in the Hat and a couple others. Actually, Julian, if you watched our show last week, we did talk about this a little bit.
I did watch the show.
Okay, well, I did.
We'll talk about that a bit later.
Mark and I were on the same wavelength. Yeah, Mark and I were on the same wavelength, and regarding the recording history in the studio type, Kiss in the studio, call it, or something like that. But have the details about how they recorded things, background of the songs, and then also about like Mark said, the instruments that they use on each song, and who played what would be nice, because we never seem to get everything straight about all of that. Gene didn't play bass every time. Sometimes he played rhythm guitar or whatever, or didn't play at all, or someone else. So it'd be nice to have all that information of all the recorded music, the sessions, and that sort of thing.
Now, Daniel, you've got a book coming out in Scandinavia by Carl and Alex. So you're very spoiled out there. What would you like to still see?
Well, I think Ken came up with a great idea last episode, and that was having Julian Gill, writing a book about the dynasty period more in detail, in order to, have the solo albums that you've written about Dynasty, Unmasked, and the Elder book. Then you have like a continuation through all 4 books. That would be great. So I'm just putting that out there. Other than that, I would like to see a continuation of Ken Sharp's great book, from 72 to 75, Kiss. If nothing to lose. If he somehow could make a follow-up to that one, would be awesome, because that was such a great book. And last time I mentioned Nico, the guy behind Strike magazine in the 90s. He has a lot of great photos from I guess the mid 80s and onwards. So something from him would be great as well. I know he's working on something.
He's scanning in all his photos at the moment. So hopefully that's just not for his own personal enjoyments,
I just have to mention that we all love Kiss books here. So I'm just so glad that people take their time, because I don't know how many years you spent on this book, Julian, but for me it took, you read it in 3 or 4 days because you can't put it down. It's so great. So we do understand all the work that goes into this one. It's such a great book. So I tip my hat to every guy or girl who writes a Kiss book, especially detailed as this one. I think it's a great piece of work.
Well, thanks, and I think you nailed it right there. A Kiss girl. I think we need some books from that side of the equation on the Kiss Army, to bring in fresh perspectives. I mean, there are so many things. I love that idea, of Ken Sharp continuing that story, because I did mock up artwork for it and started, just combing through everything that he had published to put together quotes to see if that could be a starting point to do something similar. And I called it Gods of Thunder, 1976 to 78. And I cut it off before, I think I cut it off at the, what was it, Tom Snyder. So it just went into a little bit of 79, just ends on laughter. But, there are so many angles and perspectives to still explore, but I really want to see other people bringing new perspectives, new styles, and it is more difficult than it often seems. I mean, it may seem that I drop a book every year. A lot of the books are just updates. The On Tours is an encyclopedia. It gets a new edition nearly every year. That thing took a couple of years. Primary Focus, the Aerosmith one, that I'm still on the fence about, going on decades, with no end in sight. So, who the hell knows? So, yeah, good topic. If anyone else who's watching live has a topic that you want to throw in the hat as well, it's as much our show as yours. But let's jump into one of the topics from the board this week. And one of the ones I liked was, what was a past Kiss opportunity of any kind that you screwed up? How nice. It's all about you screwing something up when it's an opportunity with Kiss, rather than Kiss screwing up an opportunity for you. Daniel, have you ever screwed up an opportunity when it comes to this band we love?
I think it's such a different perspective for me, being from the north of Sweden and you being from the States and Canada. I mean, you have a lot of opportunities to go to concerts and expos and conventions. That's not the case for me. So every time I've had an opportunity, I've taken it. I've seen them live. I've went to stuff as much as I had the possibility of doing. But one thing I missed with just about 25 days was a gig that I really wanted to see. It was actually one of the last gigs Kiss did in Europe without the makeup. It was when they went over to the UK in 92, and they played not that many shows, but I think they played 1 or 2 nights at Wembley. and I was in London like 25 days after that. I just wish I wouldn't have spent the money. It was sort of a language course. You went over, I was like 14, 15 years old. You went over and lived with a family, and we played golf, but we had to go to school some hours of the day as well. But if I should have taken that money and went a month earlier. But I guess I wasn't really ready to go by myself. I didn't have a lot of, a KISS community around me like we have now with you guys and, the rest of the KISS army. It's such a difference. So I would have liked to see that.
Now, Lonnie, we know about your fiasco with Revenge.
Sure.
What's another KISS opportunity that you screwed up?
There are more. And
There are more.
And I was thinking about this question, and it really goes to 2000, where I saw them in May of 2000 in Peoria, Illinois, which is about 3 hours from my house. And then they came to St. Louis in August of 2000. It's the famous show where Ace took, the top of his costume off. But they played a little city called Carbondale, Illinois, which is about 2 hours from here, on September 1st, 2000. Why the hell did I not go to that?
Is that SIU? Southern Illinois University?
Yes, yes. And then they also played in Champaign, Illinois on October 1st at University of Illinois campus on October 1st. I mean, 2 more shows of the original lineup, 3 hours from my house. What the hell was I thinking that I didn't go to those? I mean, granted, I was 21 years old, but that's no excuse. That's something that could really haunt me if I think about it too much. I try not to. Those are definitely missed opportunities of the original band playing that close to me, and I, for whatever reason, didn't go.
All right, Ken.
The only thing I can think of is my chance. I probably could have. I didn't know about it or wasn't aware of it at the time. But in '77, when KISS played, actually, it would have been the anniversary. Would have been what, yesterday or the day before? Yesterday. It was on Elvis's. The day Elvis died, that is, in '77. And I didn't know about it at the time. And I was just getting into KISS at the time. But if I would have known about that, I probably would have tried to have gotten there. I don't think I had my license, driver's license yet. And I don't know. My mother would let me go all the way over to San Francisco to see them. But I think the other thing related to that is if I would have maybe gotten into them a little earlier and paid more attention to and not blown them off, a year or two before when my friend showed me the first album. And I kind of blew that off. So it got, I got into the band a year or two later afterwards. So that would be the only, only thing. The only other thing is $500 KISS pinball machine that I could have bought.
No. I passed up one for $1,200 too. That was really dumb.
Yeah. So I understand. So it's something I should have. I was like, why don't I just fork it over and buy the darn thing? I mean, it wasn't back then. That wasn't much, and that was probably late '80s. I want to say something like that. But that's about it. Everything else, I pretty much, I got to see what I wanted. Did what I wanted to do as far as KISS. Seeing them and other stuff like that.
All right, Mark. Tell us about your regrets.
Well, much like Daniel, believe it or not, KISS doesn't come to Canada as much as you would think. I mean, they tour the U.S. a lot, and they tour Europe, not often, but they do a lot of the U.S., but we don't get much here. And when we do, I've made an effort to go see them, obviously, because I do like them. But there is one regret that I do have, And now in retrospect, thinking about it, it's really kind of foolish that I didn't do this. Back in '96 when they did the reunion, I had gotten tickets for Toronto, which was August 6th at the Sky Dome at that time, which it was called. And but before that, in July, I was in New York City with me and my band. We were there to talk to some record people over there. And as we were walking down, they were playing those 4 consecutive nights in July there at Madison Square Garden. And the other guitar player in my band, he was a huge Kiss guy, like way bigger than me. Even he had like his whole living room. Like, okay, he had like a common law wife, and he had the Unmasking plaqued in his living room, over the fireplace hung. He had Kiss, like Ace Frehley with the smoking guitar in his living room. Like, his wife had absolutely zero say about the decoration of the house because of him. So that's how diehard a Kiss guy is.
Are they still married?
Not anymore. But they were together. But they were together for like about 17, 18 years. But
Okay.
you know, he didn't care about whether she wanted it there or not. He was that big a Kiss fan. But he wanted to go, and I was like, I don't know. For some reason, we just thought it wasn't a good idea to go. And in retrospect, I think that was a really stupid idea. Well, the first 2 shows already at that time were pretty much sold out, I think. But there was somebody who was with us, like a guide guy who was from the label, who said, actually, I think that there's tickets available for the 3rd night or something if you guys want to go. And for whatever reason, I don't know if we were just hungover in the morning or whatever, we just said, nah, forget it. I'm gonna see them anyway in August. What the fuck? Who cares? You know? So, but in retrospect, I probably should have went and see them in their hometown at least once. So that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I did make the trek to New York City to see them at Madison Square Garden in 2019, and I have said what a lame ass crowd it was. So
yeah, there ain't no Toronto crowd. Let me tell you that.
But I do think the reunion tour, there was so much hype and excitement, different animal than 25 years later. So yeah, you screwed up, man.
Yeah,
but
I'm not. Mark, will you have another regret? Are you going to see them in a few months?
Yeah, don't make another regret.
In November, I'm planning on it. I'm planning on it.
All right.
He's on the fence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, regrets. I've had a few. That again, too few to mention. My life is full of missed Kiss opportunities, and I really don't want the PTSD of reliving them. So nice topic. Let's move on. Another topic from the board is 24 years ago tonight when this was posted, Detroit Rock City opened in theaters. Did you go and see Detroit Rock City in the movie theater? Or if you didn't, have you seen any Kiss theatrical masterpiece on the big screen? Daniel?
No, I remember watching.
Do they have any theaters where you are?
Yes, they have theaters over here. We do have.
Shot it.
You know,
wow.
You just have to get the polar bears out of the way before you
get
there. You know?
Drive in for your sleighs.
Yeah. You know, kill a reindeer and then move on. Yeah. But no, I haven't really seen any Kiss in the theater. But I remember watching the movie when it was shown on Swedish television, and I already knew it was gonna, kind of be a snoozer. And I remember, I think I never rewatched it. I think I've only seen it once. Maybe I should give it another shot. I don't know. Let's see what you guys say. But I don't remember a lot from the movie. I remember they do naming, the cougar, Beth or something. I thought it was so bad. And then they played Beth in the background. I mean, cheesy as hell. And I guess it was one of wasn't Edward Furlong one of the boys? Yeah, I guess that was one of his last sort of big roles. I thought he would become a great actor, but it kind of fizzled out. I think he got into drugs and stuff. So I never watched it in the theaters, and as I recall it, it was a really bad movie. But I might have to rewatch it. It can be kind of fun to see now.
Yeah, I watched the director's cut.
Okay, there's a director's cut.
Yeah.
Wow, they actually made one.
Wow, deleted scenes. Don't do
Wow.
It did not improve the experience for me.
Damn it.
Trust me on that.
Okay.
Lonnie, did you go to the cinema?
He did.
Of course. I went opening night. It was playing theater real close to the house.
Okay, so how many people were there with you?
If I said 10, I might be lying. That's too many. I mean, I walked in thinking, man, this is going to be so great, so excited. Got my Kiss shirt on, I had a Kiss hat on, the whole shooting match, you know. I walk in there, and this place is just empty. And there were people there. Two of the people that were in there, two of the maybe six other people that were in there, had their freaking faces painted, so they looked like bigger fools than me.
What the hell? Really?
I swear.
Wow.
So,
That's worse than Star Trek films.
So it was very humbling experience for me, and I'm sure for the other people as well. Like, oh wow.
What do you think of the movie?
Homer Simpson going back into the bushes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I liked the movie. You know, it's 1999, so I'm probably, I don't know, 19 or 20 years old when it comes out. So I'm, you know, at that age, I like just about anything they put out. You know, they could put out Kiss dog shit at Spencer's, and I would have went and bought it or something. You know what I mean?
Really?
I mean,
We know what you have there in the closets.
Don't give Gene any ideas. But
Hey, he'll send you Kiss branded laxatives and Kiss branded shit.
If I send him money, he will. Yeah. I mean, it's good though. I haven't watched it in several years at this point, but I still think it's fun. It's fun enough for, you know, a movie in that vein. Is it better than Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park? I mean, maybe that's a poll for the FAQ, which is better than Phantom or Short Rock City. It'd be a coin flip, but they're both fun in their own right.
I don't think it would be anything near that, Lonnie, because Kiss
Really?
Meets the Phantom is part of so many people's childhoods.
Okay,
And everything looks rosier when you're looking back in time rather than
and I guess
trying
that's
to.
why I like it. I was 19 when it came out.
Yeah, you're just a
Sorry to
child.
interrupt you.
Just a
Sorry
boy.
to interrupt you.
Okay. All right, Ken.
Yeah, it was similar to Lonnie's experience.
So you went.
I did go. I went
Okay.
to the theater.
Guilty. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably about there wasn't many people there. I know that. There's hardly anybody. It's pretty empty. No one in Kiss makeup though. You know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was an okay movie. The best parts of the movie are the beginning of the movie and probably the ending of the movie. So the beginning where they have the intro, with the graphics and playing "I Stole Your Love" and all that. That's really cool. Beginning to the movie, and then the ending, of course, them playing live on
Just
stage.
about everything in between.
In between,
Like
it's like
over.
it's okay. I mean, it was all right. It's a B type movie. It's not going to get any awards or anything like that. It was it's fun from that sense. But yeah, it was. I was there. The other thing is, it made me realize that people don't really care about Kiss that much. Not as many as I thought. Would maybe care about it and be at the show.
Yeah,
I've joked before that we're the biggest cult band members ever. Fans. Lonnie.
I agree with Ken. It made me feel that way too. That maybe not as many people care about this band as I do, because here I had just seen them. It's '99. They didn't play here on the Psycho Circus tour, but I had seen them in '96 and '97, the full houses at arenas. Like the first one that had sold out just immediately, and in my mind, I think, well, everybody loves Kiss. I mean, think how many people got shut out of going to that show. And only a couple of years later,
No.
it's like, maybe not as many people are as passionate about this. Maybe not passionate, but just even care.
So can I tell you my experience?
Please.
Please do.
my experience is this, and I'll say that the same guy who I was in New York with the band member guy, he like I said, he's a huge fan, and he was just a nervous wreck the opening night. He's like, we gotta go, we gotta hurry up, we gotta get tickets and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, it's not gonna sell out. Okay. It's like, no, man, this is Kiss, man. It's a Kiss movie. He lived in his own world. Okay. When we got there and got the tickets, the guy who gave us the tickets, the ticket guy, we were like, we need 4 tickets to Kiss. And he was like, yeah, no problem, dude. He was like so relaxed. Like, don't worry, man. You got lots of time. So already when he said that, I was like, oh God, this is going to be brutal. We went in there. It was us 4 and one other guy. One other guy was in the theater. And I looked at my friend. I go, you see? I go, you have nothing to worry about. And he was so disheartened when he saw that there was absolutely nobody there. And I told him, I go, dude, we're kind of like a lost relic here in this already at that time. You know, I go, people don't want to see Kiss in a movie. I don't know what you're thinking, dude. You know, nobody wants to see a Kiss movie. Okay. People want to listen to Kiss records maybe, and maybe go to a concert, but they don't want to go to a movie. But I'll say this, that was not the most humiliating movie that I've ever been to. And in retrospect, it's interesting because I went to see opening night of Star Trek First Contact. Now, in comparison, that was jammed to the gills. People were standing in the aisleways for that movie. Okay, you could barely get a seat in there. But it was absolutely, I felt so ashamed to be a Star Trek fan at that point because there was so many people in there dressed up in the uniforms and the outfits, but you know what was ridiculous? Every time one of the characters would come on screen, like Riker, the number 1 guy, he would come up and start talking. Captain, blah, blah, and whoever was dressed as him in the audience would stand up and they would start cheering. They would stand up and show their uniform. They're complete dorks in this cinema. I couldn't believe it. I felt so ashamed. I was like covering my head and like wanted to get the hell out of there. But that was the most embarrassing movie I've ever been to in my life. I'd never go to a Star Trek movie after that.
No.
Okay.
I think they would have a greater chance now of making a movie that would be kind of successful, through Netflix or something. Much like,
because
I really enjoyed the Queen movie that a few years back.
Well, they are going to do a Netflix.
They've talked about it a long time.
Are they? Because Netflix has been shit canning projects left and right while putting up its pricing. And look at how the Casablanca story did, even with Kiss being used in all of the promos. So I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Story. I think they could do a pretty good movie on Kiss's history.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think I really
don't see it happening.
No, I really do think that we are actually in a cult. And I'm not going to be that delusional. I did not go to the cinema for anything to do with Kiss ever, simply because I couldn't bring myself to go to the cinema for anything to do with Kiss.
Not even Vegas.
I didn't want to see. I was in Vegas, so what do I need to go to the cinema for? I was standing by the helicopter, so it's like I've already been there. I saw it in 3D with real surround sound. No, I didn't want to go and see it. I saw the trailer like a couple weeks before when I was at another movie. I'm like, I'm not going to this. There's going to be one person in that cinema, and I don't want to be seen going into a cinema sitting with one other person because that's just going to be creepy as hell.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I did not go. I had no desire. I didn't see it in the cinemas. I waited until it was on VHS, and then I waited until it was on DVD. I just had no interest in it whatsoever, which is a shame. Do I regret missing all of these in the cinema? I think I probably missed and someone mentioned it, I think Kissology had one night in the cinema or something. That would have been cool to see those shows on the big screen, but I don't think the sound would have been optimized, but that would have been fun to see anything from Kissology or any of those shows now in the better forms that are now available on a big screen would be absolutely awesome.
The best Kiss related thing that ever went to DVD was the Scooby-Doo thing. That by far was probably the best thing that they ever were involved with.
They got a lot of new fans.
Yeah,
through that movie. Yeah,
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've watched that thing one time, and that was more than enough.
It's fun.
Yeah, but
Better than Detroit Rock City.
yeah. I've actually do have a copy of the Detroit Rock City VHS, which is actually sealed by the rental store because it's got a rental store sticker on it and had never been used. So it was a rental that had never been rented. It's,
Wow.
all
Top
right.
seller.
Oh man.
Let's dig into another topic from the board here. All right. Name a Kiss vinyl that is your crown jewel. If you look into your collection today or that you've had at any time in your life that has been a part of your collection, what was the crown jewel in vinyl in your collection, Daniel? And why?
well, I've never been really into vinyl because when I became a Kiss fan, vinyl was the last thing you wanted. You couldn't, could buy any vinyl for a few bucks, and people were into CDs, and I never really got into vinyl after that. But I do have some from the early days, and I remember. I think I've told this story before, but I remember I heard All Hell's Breaking Loose, and I had no idea which album it was from. So I had my mom call, the record stores and having them go through every Kiss album, reading the titles off the back of the album until they found Lick It Up and All Hell's Breaking Loose. And I said, that's the one. And then she ordered it for me and I got it. So I still have that copy. It's kind of special since my mom isn't alive anymore and so on. That's a fond memory I have from her. She really wanted me to have that record.
My crown jewel, though I didn't recognize it as such at the time and fucking sold it like an idiot, and I've been searching ever since to replace it because I have regrets, was the 7-inch UK EMI Flaming Youth EP, 4-track, white label only, and I fucking sold it. And I would pay probably $1,000 to get that back now. Complete regrets. I don't have much vinyl left now. I think I've got the originals too. I've had everything, all the promos. Obviously, I owned Stanley the Parrot at one point, though that's an acetate and not technically vinyl. So, I've been lucky to have a lot of things in my hands. But again, it's always about the hunt for me, and the kill, and not the trophy. Except for the Flaming Youth EP, which I want the trophy. Lonnie.
It's got to be an original. I have an original pressing of Destroyer signed by Gene Paul, Ace, and Peter. It's got to be that, and it might be one of my favorite pieces I own. Period. Just because of what Destroyer meant to me growing up, and it's signed by the original 4. I mean, I have Sonic Boom signed by, and I know Sonic Boom's a more rare piece of vinyl than a blue label Destroyer is. And I have my Sonic Boom is signed by Gene Paul, Eric, and Tommy, and that's pretty cool too. But Destroyer being what it is and what it meant to the band, signed by the original 4, that's my crown jewel.
Mark.
It's not Destroyer.
No.
I was trying not to say that during this episode.
Destroyer.
You notice how polite I was during Lonnie's discussion. I didn't shake my head. I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't say. I gave Lonnie.
We know what you're thinking, though.
Full props for his value of that record, and I think it's fantastic that he has it signed by all the members. I'm very happy for Lonnie. For me, I think I have a couple things I've kind of find as my crown jewel things. One, I have a really, really great pressing of Alive, and I believe it's one that I bought from Julian actually, and it's side A was cut by Alan Zentz, and the other 3 sides are done by Robert Ludwig, and it's one of the best sounding Alives I've ever owned in my life, and I have like 16 versions of that album in my collection, and I have a couple of good ones there, but that one by far is the best sounding one. So thank you, Julian, for that one. The other one that I really enjoy is something that Ken gave me a while back, and that was the solo albums in that solo album box set, because he had one that was a damaged dinged corner or something was wrong with it. And we made a trade, and I got that from him. And I really love that one, colored vinyl, and it's really nice. And I thank Ken very much for that. And the other piece that, believe it or not, is a crown piece in my collection, and I proudly display it over here, is my gold record that Julian sent me of Destroyer on the wall there.
That was funny.
You're a good sport, Mark. You're a good sport.
Still up.
Oh yeah, that's right over my
That's so
keyboard.
fun.
Whenever I need inspiration to write something and I'm coming up with a piano piece, I just take a look at that and remember that I have a gold record in my house now, a Kiss one that was sent by my good friend Julian Gill. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Mark. All right. Did I get everyone?
No.
Did I forget Ken?
No.
Ken.
You didn't get me, no.
No, Ken.
Ken.
Yeah. Yeah. What? No. Yeah. So. Yeah.
It's a tie.
Is it a tie?
Of course,
It's a tie.
It's a tie.
It's a
between all
draw.
his
It's a
favorites.
draw.
No. Alive 2. Which was
Misprint?
First thing no. I do have the Alive 2 misprint. Yes, I have actually 2 Alive 2 misprints.
Mexican as well.
One is Mexican.
Of course you do.
Yeah, the U.S. and
I
the
got that
Mexican
one,
one. I mean,
Everyone
I can
does,
say,
'cause it was all misprinted.
yeah. I mean, I could say because I had every promo version of. I mean, I really loved the first Kiss album. White label promo. With the sticker on it. I have the Hotter Than Hell promo, Distress to Kill promo. It goes on. I'm like a promo collector, basically, of vinyl.
Do you have an Elder promo?
No, well, that's a tricky one there. You say Elder promo. There's a cut corner one. They think it might be a promo. If that's a promo, then maybe I have one, maybe. But pretty much everything else. But I mean, that was my first album, Live 2, and that's kind of one that I would never get rid of. All the other ones I could eventually get rid of, but I would always keep that one, which I did because I did lose, or traded in my vinyl for CDs back in the early 90s or late 80s or whatever it was. Unfortunately, I did that, but I recollected. But Live 2, I did not trade away.
You know what? On Gene Simmons auctions this week, or available today, is a copy of Creatures of the Night that he sent to his mother.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so talk about a cool piece of vinyl if you're so inclined to.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah, no, he's had a few pieces of vinyl up there so far.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah,
and some have been ruined with the autographs. So opinions vary on the value of an autograph and what it does to a rare item. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's all down to what your personal preferences are. Obviously, I make it clear that I don't much care for it, but yeah. Don't forget to check out Gene's site because I guess you just never know what they may dig up and put on that site. We had a lot of great suggestions, coming from our audience. Thank you for chiming in with those. And a lot of it seems to run the sentimental gamut as well, which I guess is what makes it. Mark, please.
I got a question actually for Lonnie.
Here we go.
Now,
am I taking questions?
Yeah, I'd very much like this answered. So I know that we were talking about vinyl in this topic here, but I'm going to guess, and I want to know if this is the case, that I would suspect that your most valuable Kiss possession are the tattoos on your leg from the autograph, isn't it?
My legs, yeah, they're pretty valuable to me.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the most. Wouldn't you say honestly that's probably your most valuable Kiss?
It's the coolest thing I have. I think it's the biggest conversation starter that I own. I think.
Because you have everybody, don't you?
I do have everybody except for Eric Carr and Mark St. John.
No, okay.
But yeah, that's. I don't know. That's pretty. It's pretty cool. It's different, absolutely.
And of course, for as a fellow tattoo person, I have to know how much care did you have to do during the day to make sure that none of that smudged before you got to the tattoo shop?
Well, that's interesting, Mark, because I, for the most part, I met Paul Stanley at one of the stupid art gallery things, and I went.
Don't like art.
I know, yeah, that's great, isn't it? And I went right away. I got the Paul Stanley like within an hour or two, but like Gene and Tommy signed my leg in Sarnia, Ontario in 2009.
Ooh,
and
it's a long drive.
Well, yeah, it was a long drive. And then I spent the night at this shady shady Sarnia hotel. There's such thing as a shady Sarnia hotel. I found it. And drove to Detroit for the show in Windsor the next day and got those two tattooed. That was weird. I was really scared to sleep that night, and it was July, and I didn't want to be sweating and shit like that. So that was weird. That, and then Peter Criss, I met him at a thing in Chicago. He just did a signing, and I had that tattooed immediately too. And then
cool.
Julian was there, and I got Vinny, within a couple hours also. The next day, because Vinny was so late that Friday night that I had to wait till the next day, and I stood in line for 8 damn hours the next day because of those lines. And I'm like, when I get out of this line, I still got to go get the tattoo. So that was a little stressful time. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have a question for Julian that a guy asked me today, and he wondered what happened to the KissFAQ Facebook page.
Oh, I've killed all the pages that I had on Facebook because fucking Meta makes it so unmanageable that you can only do things by logging in as a profile, and it was really becoming invasive and a pain in the ass when you've got an Aerosmith one, Def Leppard one, Mass Kissteria one, and you're getting all these notifications, and every time you read one, it logs you in as that and makes you open the Meta app. So I just shit canned all of them. And I've recreated a KissFAQ group, which anyone can join. That'll be less maintenance for me. I
joined.
Have no interest in spending my life fucking around with people's technology that is designed by interns with no real life experience. Fuck them. That's not how my workflow works. My workflow is bare minimum. And
angry
once you
man.
start making
Once you start making angry guy yelling at a cloud,
you start making me waste my time. Fuck it.
Yeah, so go and join the new KissFAQ. If you missed the old one, there's a new version.
There you go, Daniel mops it up nicely there. There you go. Good work.
Excellent. Yes. No, it's less a pain in the ass. So let's move on to another topic that is less triggering for me. There was a really good time. I enjoyed this topic, and I don't read a lot on the FAQ, but this one I did actually respond to as well, which is, as a Kiss fan, do you feel you missed out on not seeing Kiss in the 1970s, which excludes Ken from the conversation? But it
was. It was November of '79. I saw them. Dynasty.
It's still 70s.
Yeah. It was 70. But like I said earlier, when I was talking about earlier, I wish I had seen the '77 one at the Cow Palace, but that's about it.
Yeah, a half face.
The rest of you guys.
Nine Inch Nails is going in my mind right now. Lonnie, what's your take on that subject?
I do. I do feel like I missed out on seeing them in their heyday. I really do. As I can remember standing in my parents' kitchen, like summer of '96, after I had seen them on the reunion tour, telling my mom and dad, I was 17 years old. I said, I wish I was 37. And that means I would have been about 17 in about 1976, 1977. And I could have seen them at their rise and in their heyday. I said, I just couldn't stop talking about that whole summer after I saw them. What the hell's going on around here? And
What the?
I actually screwing with
Julian's playing around.
So, my dad's like, don't ever wish you were 20 years older than what you are. But, you know, and he's got a point. But I do. I wish I could have seen them at their rise. I think as much as I am a fan, as much as I've seen them, I think I really missed being able to see them in their infancy and at their rise to stardom.
Even creatures, right?
Yeah. Daniel.
Of course, who wouldn't have liked to see the 77 tour? I mean, that's their heyday. But it's hard to, you know, I wasn't even born, or maybe I was just born somewhere around there. But it isn't over yet. And I know Julian loves this idea.
Time travel.
In 10 more years, I think you can go and watch the Love Gun tour all over again with all Ace, Peter and Ace on stage. You know, I had a colleague during the summer vacation who went to Stockholm and saw the avatars, ABBA, and their avatars, and she was blown away by the show.
Yeah.
And that's now. Just imagine 10 or 20 years, you can go and see Love Gun tour, Creatures tour, Dynasty tour. So I'm looking forward to that.
No.
What about tribute? What about, you know, what would be so bad
No, it's
about
not the
tribute
same.
bands doing
You know, it's going to look exactly like Gene Simmons' Drooling Blood in 77, Houston, an exact copy, and then it's gonna blow your mind, and you're all going to be there.
No.
You'll see.
Maybe. Anything's possible. Nick just raised a really good thing about Gene. I'm surprised at the Hollywood Bowl show. I have no idea, but I'm there as well. So we'll find out. All right, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'd want to go and see them in the 70s. I mean, a lot of my favorite bootleg concerts that I have are from the 70s. You know, I've mentioned before, like the Houston 76 show is cool. All those 77 shows are great. And I didn't realize this until not too long ago. And I don't know why I didn't know this earlier, but my sister, who gets, you know, mentioned quite often on this podcast, my older sister, I didn't realize that she actually did see Kiss in 77.
Oh.
She did go and see them. So I was like, really? She goes, yeah. She said that, you know, she didn't tell the parents, of course. She went with her friends. And they went to Toronto to, I think it was Maple Leaf Gardens. I think it was there, she said. I don't remember, but she said that she saw them and that it was fantastic, you know. So, and of course, you know, my introduction to Kiss came through my sister. She had all those records and she bought me Alive and blah, 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 blah. So, but yeah, of course, I'd love to see them. I mean, if I could pick something to go see that I have on video, I would love to go see Winterland the 75 show, because that one is such a great performance. They're still like really driving for that success at that time, and mainly because I think Peter was really at one of his peak performance times was that time period.
I just read an article written by Ronnie Lundell, you know, the chief editor of the Scandinavian or the Swedish fan magazine, and it was, you know, he's like an expert on winter, on what's the name of the Coventry, yeah, the Coventry Popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah, so and it is written like you're there. It's like written as a novel almost, the article. So you follow a guy walking into a bar, you know, looking to have a beer or two, and he sees this band and he's, you know, taken aback. It's a really well written article, and I hope Julian will write some articles for that magazine, as you
I'm writing
mentioned.
one. I'm working on one at the moment.
Nice, perfect.
I'm not rushing. I'm not rushing though, because I'm still in recovery. Lonnie, did I get you?
You did.
Okay. My answer, and Ken, I'll get you last because you were there in the 70s, was, yeah, how the hell else can you understand the energy, the smell, the shared experience in the crowd for something that you weren't there to? And I've overcompensated from it for it in a variety of ways, and just joining the club late. There's no way to go back and ever feel that energy and to feel a part of something. And someone really commented on that as well. The Opal Archive put that comment up again. No, nothing can ever convey what it was like to be a fan and to be in that audience, to experience the excitement of these albums coming out, and to have the ignorance of not knowing anything about the band. The mystery was still there. It was all still fresh. It was all still new. So no, nothing can compare to the original. And it's a double-edged sword, because it's magnified in those fans' mind to this day in many cases that everything is unrealistic, because nothing can ever match that majesty and the awesomeness of all those albums coming out and experiencing it all together for the first time. So that's almost why I didn't care about the reunion, because in my mind it could never really be again what it was originally. And it was always going to be an attempt that wouldn't measure up in people's minds to what it was. Now, Ken, you were there, in the 70s. You were there at least for Vegas Kiss.
Yeah, and getting into 77 and not knowing what they looked like, it was exciting, wondering, who are these guys? They were like superheroes to me. They really were that, superheroes that played, great music and put on a great show. And then, looking at that center open gatefold of Alive 2, it's like, gosh, you just, your wheels would turn in the brain, think, oh man, I can't wait to, get and, see them in concert. And then, finally being there for the first concert, the excitement of that, with the makeup, on Dynasty, and it was just a real exciting time. And it was just, and it was still that mystery, even going back and looking at all the, getting the old albums and looking at all those old pictures, magazines that were coming out or wore out, and then all the way up through Creatures, they were still there, still exciting for me. And seeing all that and then they finally took the makeup off, and that changed. That did change things. And then seeing them in '96 on a reunion, it wasn't, for me. It was great. It was great, but it wasn't as exciting as that first thing, because we knew who they were. We knew where they what they looked like without makeup. By that time, of course, from the 80s and then the 90s, there's no mystery there anymore. So it was a different feeling about that concert versus me seeing them in 79 on Dynasty.
Now, you saw Creatures 3 times, and so you didn't bail out on them and skip it like so many other.
Never bailed on Kiss the whole time.
A lot of other original fans had given up on them and moved on.
Checked out,
Yeah, they checked out and they missed that. So what's your read on that? I mean, can a lot of these people who've been to hundreds of shows who checked out and didn't see Creatures, are they real Kiss fans?
Maybe not. I mean, there was some. I think it's partly due to the fans that were there before they made it big, before they really made it big, before they started merchandising and all that stuff. They didn't like that. Their band had changed from what they were, it's a live era and all that kind of stuff. I think once they hit Destroyer and, some of the fans they probably lost at that time, they kind of like, with Beth and that sort of stuff. I think some of the fans were, I don't know, they tried to stay with them. Then the solo albums happened, and then they lost some more, fans there. And then by the time Dynasty, Unmasked, The Elder, a lot of those original fans, dropped off. Though, there's a lot that stayed, but there's a lot they lost too at the same time. And I was one that came in at that time, and I experienced all the different kinds of stuff. I liked what I was seeing. I liked the other stuff. I liked the Elder even. So that's why I kept on with them.
Now,
I dropped off.
Ken, one question I'm curious to ask you, since you were actually there in the documentary, the Kiss one, they were saying how during the Dynasty tour that they were starting to see a lot of families coming with young kids. Did you see that when you were there, the Dynasty?
Yeah, I did see a lot of younger kids at that. I thought it was kind of peculiar in some ways, and then I thought, well, there's they got the Kiss dolls out and other stuff, that are aimed towards kids. They Kiss color forms for, that kind of stuff, which is for little kids. So yeah, I thought it was kind of weird in a way, but maybe not so much. I just thought that it's just, hey, the more the merrier. If they're getting into Kiss, I knew it's a great thing. If they're liking it, then that's all good. And all of those fans probably were kids at that time, moved on and probably stayed, became a fan then, and probably stayed with Kiss. Maybe not, but I think a lot of them stayed.
Well, let's go to the flip side of that question from the Mighty Welshman. The flip side is, do original fans not get how great the 1980s Kiss was because they'd already blown their wad in the 70s? I couldn't imagine being more of a fan than I was in the 80s. And I certainly kind of echo that sentiment as someone who became a fan in the 80s. I became a fan of Kiss not knowing that they were the band that wore makeup in the 70s. I've told the story. I didn't make the connection between what I experienced in early 79 after moving to America and seeing those guys in their mom's tights and tinfoil up on stage miming to Black Diamond a Deuce. I had no connection between that memory and what I saw on MTV with Who Wants to Be Lonely All Night and Tears Are Falling, thinking that is cool as fuck. Paul Stanley swinging from a goddamn vine, and that BC Rich Warlock and Eric Carr and Volcano. I was mesmerized by that magic.
Yes.
So to me, that is a big moment for me personally as someone experiencing the Paul Lynde Halloween special. And people will say that's apples and oranges. No, they're both apples, but they're apples in different time periods, dependent on the consumer. So Lonnie, as a younger fan as well, do you see that side of things? That originals fans can't appreciate the 80s as much as us who are younger?
I get it. I mean, I think that's an interesting thought. I think that's why a lot of people checked out, and some people didn't check back in until '96, where that's not my Kiss. My Kiss wears the makeup. My Kiss is Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter, and and there's still that fraction of the fan base out there that's not my Kiss. And I guess I can relate to that too. And I talk about Guns N' Roses a lot on this show. I never saw the Chinese Democracy version of Guns N' Roses with Buckethead and DJ Ashba and people like that. That was and I had never seen them up until that point. Like, I'm not going to go see that. That's not what I want. That's not what I grew up on. If I go to that, I'm going to be disappointed. So yeah, I could totally see that, and when we got back together with Slash and Duff, yeah, I'm in, going, don't care. So I can see that, and then did I not appreciate Chinese Democracy because of that? I don't know. I don't mind those songs, but I can totally see how a Kiss fan would have checked out after, just say, Dynasty or after Unmasked, because, well, that's not my band anymore. That's what they're doing. I don't agree with.
Kiss is a buffet. Kiss is anything you want it to be. Kiss can be whatever you're in the mood for. That's the marvelous thing about Kiss, that there is no definition of what a real fucking Kiss fan is, because that's just stupid and inane when it comes to any band in the first place. So, but I do think a lot of the originals fans do look down on that period because of blue thongs and bouffant hairdos or wigs. Daniel, younger fan.
Yeah, It's
Be
been
our
said.
favorites.
It's been said 1,000 times, but it's all about the entry point when you become a fan. I also remember watching that Tears of Falling video, and I can watch it to this day and think it looks pretty cool. The effect when he turns around there in the beginning and watches the girl, still awesome. Moving around on stage looks cool, and I think the stage set that they built for that video is pretty cool to this day. But I don't mind 80s cheese. But as you said, there's so many variations of Kiss. Of course, it must have been real hard to go from, Love Gun, Destroyer, and then just a few years later, it's such a short amount of time, you get Unmasked and The Elder. Of course, it must have been a turnoff for many fans. Such a almost a completely different band. And then, of course, the big thing with taking off the makeup, which in hindsight maybe saved the band, but it must have been a tough pill to swallow for a lot of fans. So I do understand. What I do think is kind of mind-boggling is that there are fans that, I still think we as 80s fans still see that the material in the 70s might be stronger, but fans like Chris Jericho and that drummer on what's the name
Charlie
of the
Bernate?
podcast? No, I'm thinking of the drummer on that podcast. You've been on that podcast. Kiss. He does 20 minutes each week. The main guy. Your 20 minutes Kiss fix.
Julian was on it a week ago.
Yeah, what's the name of that
Podcast Rock City.
Yeah, Podcast Rock City. There's a drummer guy there.
Oh yeah, Joey Casada.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He and Jericho, they prefer the 80s material. They think that's the strongest period of Kiss when it comes to the music. And I don't agree with that, but it's, there's something for everyone.
Yeah, it's weird. And I was reading the New York Times review of the Elvis documentary, Elvis 68 Comeback Special. And there was a line in there about Colonel Parker took Elvis and took something that was dangerous and made him safe and consumer friendly, which is exactly what Bill O'Coin did. But they're two different products of the same, two different packaging of the same, ingredients. Mark, we won't keep you up much longer, but what's your take on that as someone else who's a younger fan?
Yeah, I love the 80s Kiss. But the first thing I got, one of the first things I got was the Lick It Up 7-inch that came out. And one of my favorite records, like my number 2 of all time, is Asylum. So I'm all in on the 80s Kiss, and that's one thing I wish I would have been able to see. Was going to a show during that time period, because they were really trying to win back their fan base at that time. They were going crazy, running around like nuts. Maybe the tempos were a little bit faster than they were before, but still, it was a good show. And, I would have loved to have seen that. That's I have no problems with the 80s Kiss stuff at all. I think you really nailed it on the head there, Julian, when you said that there's something for everybody with this band, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody says out there that their favorite, period of Kiss was Animalized with Mark St. John, or somebody, because I've even said too that one of my favorite live versions of Kiss was when they were doing the farewell tour with Eric Singer on drums, with Ace was still with them. That's one of my favorite lineups of the band live, for sure. And
there are fans on the FAQ who became fans because of Sonic Boom, and Tommy and Eric are the only members of Kiss that they know in that makeup.
Right.
Yeah.
Psycho Circus made a whole lot of new fans, actually.
So again, there is no right or wrong answer because it's all highly individual. We're not going to have time to get to some of these other questions. Aerosmith and Kiss was like Kiss and Motley Crue. In terms of the dynamics, the Kiss going on before Aerosmith completely sucked all the air out of the room. before Aerosmith hit the stage. So it was a bit like Motley Crue did to Kiss in 2012 when Motley was doing freaking whirly bird upside down drum shit and marching processions down the aisle, and before Kiss hit the stage. So it was a similar dynamic to that. But we'll have to put some of those topics off until another time, because right now we are out of time and this is the end. Because it's bedtime for Mark. Look how dark it is out there.
Oh yeah.
You give me the opportunity, Mark. I'm going with it. All right. So this, we do thank you all for joining us and coming in with some of the good comments and topic suggestions that we've been able to talk about today. But for now, from Daniel, from Mark, Lonnie, Ken, and myself, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.